when they take the Eucharist or when they take this and they truly believe that it is actually his body and his blood, isn't that blasphemy? Isn't that like idolatry at a whole different level when you're worshiping something? We're just taking dirt and worshiping it as if it's our presence of God. And I can't wrap my head around that. I can't wrap my head that like if the piece of bread falls to the ground, legitimately hell breaks loose in that church and they bow and pick it up with their mouth and they treat it like it is actually my God that's in that bread. I can't get behind that.
I don't agree with the misunderstanding that George is coming at with this, but I also do respect where he's coming from. He mentions later on that he has friends who have a warped perception of who God is because they've been forced into this legalistic mindset. And like, brother, we're on the same page. Absolutely agree. Legalism is hilariously wrong. And it's totally fair to have a healthy skepticism questioning, okay, this thing that I see to be bread, is it actually God, or are we just worshiping bread as if it were God? Because at this point, like if it is just bread and we are saying, no, this thing is God and it isn't actually God, I mean, that's definitional idolatry. Because we would be taking something and saying this is God and worshiping it as if it were God. But if the flip side is true, and the same thing that the early apostles believed, that the bread and wine was turned into the body and blood of Christ in their meetings, that is actually a truth that is today, then we are rejecting God. Of course, that's the difference in misunderstanding, is that we believe by reading John 6 and the Last Supper that Jesus is saying, this is my body, and gave the apostles the ability to transubstantiate, or to turn the substance, not the materials, not the atoms of the bread. It doesn't change in physical appearance, but the substance, the identity truly of what it is, into the body and blood of Christ. So you almost have to stake your claim, because if it is bread, then it is blasphemy. But if it is Jesus, then we're denying him to his face. I totally understand and respect the idea of like, how can you get your head around the idea of this little tiny thing through some prayers of a priest, it becoming God? But also, God became man. How hard would it be for him to become bread? So George, I respect your intentions. A lot of Catholic creators are just out here bashing you. I think that you do want people to find God in his fullness, but if that little host actually is God, then there is no better way that we could fully receive Jesus into us, not just our heart, into our soul, into our very absolute complete being.